if you're disturbed in your feeling, thinking and perceptions of the world, where is the best place to be? Is it amongst another group of people who are disturbed in their feeling, thinking and perceptions of the world? Or is it with people who aren't?
When I was there, they gave me so many different tablets. It was amazing, and I was just wondered if they didn't know what to do. Or they just said, oh, well, I can tell them to act and try that, see if that works. Like a guinea pig, and
I hated the whole atmosphere of it, really did. And I think I was in tears the whole time I was there.
And we've got suicides galore, homicides galore, bad practice galore in our local mental health services. And the mental hospital, which is actually supposed to be closing next month, is a particularly diabolical example, where the statistics show they have a suicide a week.
If it wasn't for here, I'd be living in the street. I'd be dead or something by now.
If I had have had to go into hospital, I would have been very ill by now. Because last time I went into hospital, it was a very bad experience. It was a very bad experience. I got very poorly, and when I went for help, they said, go away and stop attention seeking. I was very frightened that that's what was going to happen to me. And there was a place here, and I took a big sigh of relief and said thank you.
To be honest with you, if it wasn't for this place, I don't even think I'd be standing here today, because I'd be in a worse state now. And it's thanks to this place, because they made me pick up my life and get on with my life and not let me go downhill.
All our sanctuaries are occupied at the moment. We have 4 guests. They're all doing extremely well. It's usually something in the region of about 4 months to 10 months. Gives the person the time to turn their whole life around and go out on a much better footing than they came in.
But we've got befrienders here, we've got a crisis team, and we take you out, we'll even go shopping with you, we'll take you to the doctor. We do a lot for whatever we can do, we will do for you. But we will make sure you don't go downhill. We will try and keep you up high, if you know what I mean, so that you're not going down that bottom hill. The minute we see it, we will pick you up and try and get you back out there. And I came here with panic and anxiety and depression. After I came here, I was on medication, but I came off the medication myself. And being in mind helped me come off the medication, because I had people around me to help me while I was coming off it. And I've been off it now just over 2 months. I've now got a flat that I'm moving into soon. And I've now got a full-time job, which I'll be taking over as supervisor in the next 4 weeks. And basically, mind has just turned my whole life round.
I'd run mental health support group, and I'd also run, and was still running, training programs. I'd go into these meetings of support. I used to think how wonderful it would be if, as well as all the opportunity for talk, one could actually provide some practical facility.
Yeah, well, in hospital you've got people fed up down in dumps, people hyperactive running about. No one to talk to. They're all just yeah, no interest whatsoever. But it's not real life though. Most places aren't real life. That's why they're no good. You need to still be in real life. Too long there, the way I see it is you end up back like a child, you know. You've got to do it all over again. One lifetime of doing that's enough. You don't need to be doubling it up, do you?
We've got a very, very high success rate, and in the 12 years that we've been going, we've never had an overdose, a suicide, any violence, any sexual abuse, or any seriously untoward incident. So in other words, we've got a 100% success rate on risk management. Each individual is an individual, there's individual attention, Nobody feels processed. We're not under any pressure with our service because we are a charity, not dependent upon statutory funding. We're all voluntary, we don't employ any staff. So we have the luxury of being able to provide exactly what's needed by the individual.
But yeah, it's done a lot for me, and a lot for, I've seen it do a lot for David and the guy that was here before, and I hope it will carry on doing more for new people that are in here now, because they're at a serious stage in their lives as well, and hoping to get a place to live soon for myself. And I'm also part of the committee now. I'm the secretary of the committee, so I do take the minutes at the meetings and hand out leaflets and invitations and things like that.
A feature of people who come and stay here is that virtually all our people go back to work. A lot of people who leave here manage to get back into normal relationships, some go back into study or normal hobbies, and the whole process leads to people getting a life back together, diverting them away from the institutionalising mental health services.
They treat you more like a guest here than they do a patient, you know, so you're not made to feel there's something wrong with you or what have you. Well, it's like someone's house, and once you've lived here a while, you become to feel that it is your house. You do feel, you know, it's your safe environment.
You don't want to talk to fake people. You know, that's why people who are depressed, and my friend Andy and that, we all talk amongst ourselves because we benefit more from ourselves than we do from a nurse that's just there to make sure no one does anything stupid. So, please, lucky to have somewhere here.
Although we see ourselves as being very small, in the pie are quite a big piece. We actually provide quite a large service from their point of view. We've got a befriending scheme, a minibus, a holiday home, 4 crisis beds, a drop-in centre. We've got a very good library with internet access. We've got telephone work, you know, not counselling but information work and so on. We got the Mind Good Practice Award, then we got the Department of Health Award, then we got the Lottery Award, then we got the Breakthrough Commendation, then Denise got her St John's Ambulance Award for work with Alzheimer's. Then we got 1, 2, 3, 4 civic awards from the local council. And I think we've actually ended up with 11 or 12 awards, and we're in for another couple, so we'll probably end up with about 100 million awards. In fact, one of our big problems at the moment is where are we going to find room on the wall for all our
I think you're given the freedom here to make your own routine up, to build yourself up, and it's at a pace that is right for you.
But I think the health bodies are taking examples from places like this. And so not only is this valuable for respite for people who need it, but it's valuable to set an example to how people have really benefited from being in here.
Change stands for Choice and Alternatives for Growth and Experience, which is a charity that provides crisis responses and recovery responses for people that are in emotional crisis or mental distress.
And one of the things we believed strongly was in the importance of listening to the views of people who use services and family members. And we would ask a series of questions about, you know, what are people's needs, you know, what would help. And one of the things that service users particularly said, which they have been saying for many years, that they wanted somewhere different to go. They wanted somewhere where they weren't going to be controlled, where they weren't going to have needles stuck in their bums, and where there was a space that was safe for them to recover. I started to investigate and to do a little bit of research on, where is it that things, are done better.
And this is what I like from here. We share, we talk, and the beauty of this job is that we've got, the hours is open. We got 8 hours in the house just talking about this, sharing things, and then another staff take over, because the house is open from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 in the evenings. So obviously there's ample of time to share and talk about things. If you can't do it today, we'll do it tomorrow. We take it one step at a time, and that's what the beauty of this house is. And the recovery guides, the staff I have here, has had experiences of their own recovery. So we all, again, sharing, how did we do it? How was we able to cope with it? And this is how I've done mine. What about this way? So it's just like sharing and talking. And I have found that there's a lot of benefits in here. There is a lot of advantages. Yeah. And then we found that the guests have also said, when they come in thinking, gosh, this is different. The environment's different. I've got my own keys. I've got my door keys, the front door keys, my bedroom keys, and I can do what I like. I can cook. I can go out any time, and I can share. And if they feel that they are worried and anxious of something, they always share. There's always somebody there, and we find that they themselves help each other, which is good, which is great. This is great. Wow, I got different people. I didn't know that. That's a beautiful flower there.
You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. You were born to manifest the glory of God that is within us all. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
I'll make myself a cup of tea and say, does anybody want one? Somebody else, we all won't mention names, somebody else will do exactly the same. And we're all looking out for each other, and it's a nice bunch, and that's really a blessing as well. And being here, being around people, is healing in itself.
Travelling through a mental illness is a privilege in a way, because in this work I can't learn what I need to know to help staff and help people in their own recovery if I don't draw on my knowledge of my recovery. And it is a privilege. I suppose I have a passion for recovery, and that's a personal passion and a professional passion and an academic passion. I think that draw on my lived experience of my recovery from mental illness, and that's gone probably for the last 20 years that I've formally been involved in services, and then worked my recovery to actually providing services for people, and have learnt from that about what's worked for me and what's not worked for me, and contributed with the academic knowledge and the literature to try and build services and responses that actually promote recovery rather than remaining stuck in the system. So as well as my lived experience, I have a teaching background and a social work background that I use in my professional knowledge now. Yeah. But it's always drawing on and never forgetting my lived experience as informing my practice the most. The only category that is not negotiable in being an employee of change is that you're able to articulate an experience of recovery from emotional distress or mental illness, and then you be able to use that in your work. It's not so much just saying, yes, I've had a mental illness, therefore I qualify as a recovery guide. It's more, yes, I've had a mental illness, and this is how I would use that knowledge to further my practice.
And it's also good probably having a professional qualification and a lived experience, because you have the ability to traverse the language and the paradigms and the frameworks between the whole lot. And that's I probably underestimated that ability, but it comes in handy quite often.
I find, having stayed here as well, recovering, and now as a voluntary worker, it's good to see both sides of the fence, as to speak, because you can see where things are coming from more if you've stayed, and if you've experienced certain mental illnesses, which I've experienced quite a few myself, you know. And I find that I'm on a more of a level with people and what they're saying, as opposed to somebody who just comes in and says, oh, well, I'm trying to do this, and it doesn't work that way. I mean, I find that the more experience, unfortunately, you get from your own illnesses, that you are more help to other people.
It's interesting that even though we've now been running for 4.5 years, and in that time, even though we've had people here who in hospital are violent, they're not violent here. We've never had any harm to persons in the house. We have had some harm to properties. We've had in that time 2 what might be described as serious incidents in 4.5 years. And we only take people who are, or we were only taking people who are in crisis, in collaboration with the home treatment teams. So I think that's remarkable, and we have been evaluated independently by the Sainsbury Centre for Mental Health, who found that there's 100% excellent satisfaction with service by the people who use the service here. I mean, if you talk to people like Rose, I mean, I've seen Rose in the most horrendous situation, having the most horrendous experiences. And she'd been in hospital every year for something like 15 years, and she's now not been in hospital for 3 years. And even if it's so hard to quantify, what has that saved the system? I mean, if somebody's going to spend 9 months of every year in hospital, as opposed to now not spending any time in hospital at all, yes, of course you can do sums and add that up, but that isn't even half the benefit, because what Rose has is a quality of life. She has a relationship with her husband that she values, and he values her, and I mean, you can't quantify quality of life, but she has a quality of...
It's just an incredible journey here, because I mean, I always believed in my darkest day when I was very ill that I'd never ever recover, and I really got so ill that I thought I'll never ever get back here again. So if I'm coming out of all this that I'm going through and actually getting back here, something's working, something's connecting. Every day you learn something different, really. Even when you don't think you are. Just being around people who are recovering, people who are trying to get on their feet, and who want better than hospitalisation, or put on wards and put up corners and drugged up with drugs, and God knows that's all I've had all my life. All my life my syndrome's revolving door syndrome, which I've had from the age of 17. They diagnosed me with anorexia, and I was not hospitalised, but I was in for 6 months on and off, and I was terrified. I think if this place had been around then, there's no way I'd ever consider anywhere like that.
Places like this don't become burial grounds for people, that they're encouraged and celebrated to move on and continue with their life, and that exit points are built in, that they are supported to explore and try to do things. I mean, many people have the privilege of trying things and not succeeding. I think a lot of people with mental illness and psychiatric disabilities are actually given messages about don't try because you might fail, and so therefore you lose the privilege of even trying that. The right to try and to fail is a basic right, and that's one we have to restore in this work, and not to be afraid of failing. many things are useful in recovery, and you shouldn't discount anything. There is no recipe for recovery. There's no two people that would come here that would have the same journey, so therefore their recovery is entirely different. Journeying with someone is a privilege and should always be treated that way. It's not something that I have a right to journey into someone's life with, and the respect of that, and to know that someone's always in executive control of their journey, that they choose when to stop it, they choose which direction to go in that, and yes, it can be guided, but the control is always theirs, and when that control's taken away, that's when I think recovery stops happening.
If you're open to it, you can learn to live with what, the things that are going on in your life and things like that. The facilities are there. They're there when you're ready to let go of whatever it is that's holding you back. It is a wonderful place to come recover, to find yourself. You have your own key to the front door, which is sort of, something really that a lot of people don't experience when they're in, other hospitals, places like that, hospital wards. And you come in and you've got, a very relaxed atmosphere. And there's always somebody on hand to talk to you. There's always a member of staff around, a recovery guide, as we say. There's always somebody there to listen to you. And we have the art group on a Tuesday, we have the women's group on a Thursday, and then we have the art of happiness on a Friday. So there's always something going on. Art, when I first came, didn't believe I could do anything. I couldn't draw a house, I can't draw. But now, art group is amazing therapy, because you can express yourself, you can just express yourself. We all get a buzz from expressing ourselves.
My embroidery, that was my therapy.
If I was saying, do I set up a recovery house tomorrow, how would I recreate this? And it would come back to the values. The ultimate aim is that the practices that we're learning here and refining, and the outcomes that can be gained for people can also be supported and practiced in the most incarcerated situations, or that in a jail cell, in a forensic cell, in an acute high dependency unit. Recovery practice can happen. It doesn't rely on nice environments with just alone that it can happen at wherever, if the values that drive recovery, the respect of adversity, the respect of the journey, the respect of the importance of finding meaning in someone's recovery is helping them recapture and regain the vision and the passion that they have lost, and to be able to develop their own tools of what keeps them well. Believe and practice that recovery is a reality for every single person and not just a few people.
I just hope that there's more houses like this actually available in the community.
We've got 2.5 acres here, and it used to be an environmental studies centre. The site here is where the change house will be, and it will have its own hedge to enclose it, so there'll be privacy, but a connection with the rest of the site. So it'll be a very beautiful, safe place. to be. And so we developed this plan, which is about connecting education, well-being and the natural environment, because it's having those three things here together, linked, which makes this place and what can happen here so special.
I believe it's possible for everybody to recover from mental health experiences. Not only do I believe it's possible for people to recover, I actually believe that if people are supported in their recovery journeys, that they will achieve and can achieve more than they would ever have achieved had they never had a mental illness in the first place. You can see those incredibly traumatic and devastating experiences that people have as opportunities for growth, providing the services actually look to enabling people to take those opportunities for growth and learn how to support people to grow through those experiences and move on with their life.
And everyone recovers on this earth. It's not just people with mental illness. It's not just people with disabilities or physical challenges. Everyone has a lived experience. Everyone has an opportunity to grow and to heal.